Hey, hello, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Monday Night Football. The New York Football Giants head to Pittsburgh to battle the Steelers. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. As it stands right now, kind of a lowish, however you want to put it, over under at 36.5 points. It's going to be down to the wire in terms of, are we going to go over the points? Are we going to go under the points? Or are we just going to take the Giants plus 6.5, and we'll go from there. Before I get into the game, make sure you get to the website, right? FantasySixPack.net. They got some beautiful swag, comfortable t-shirts, some pretty cool socks. Oh, and they will help you win DFS lineups, sports bets, and your IDP and seasonal fantasy football content. At the heart of Fantasy Six Pack, it's a dynasty and redraft kind of website. So the award-winning rankings are around. I mean, everything you need to dominate. I hate that saying. Everything you need to dominate. I mean, I guess that works, but there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better phrase websites can work out. Hey, I'm a nobody. It is what it is. Just a DFS guy, right? I'll stay in my lane. Back to the football game. The Giants go to Pittsburgh to battle the Steelers. Kickoff 8:15, as I've shared. The Giants right now 2-5, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it's shocking or surprising, but they're 5-2. I think the shocking, surprising part is how they've been winning games. Right, their defense has been stout. You swap out Justin Fields for Russell Wilson. And lo and behold, Justin Fields sat on the sideline while Russell Wilson looked pretty damn good last week. So what shall we expect tonight? Per usual, I've liked the idea of swerving and pivoting instead of combing through the entire game, taking 20 minutes, having to make edits and updates. It takes me all day sometimes, but it's okay. I mean, I always enjoy doing that, but I love the idea of how we've pivoted to, I'll give you 5 or 6 plays, basically build a lineup. I've already built it, but I'm going to share it with you and bing, bang, boom, tell you why I like what I like with some statistics, some recent betting trends, and we will go from there. Last night, the 300 yards and 3 touchdowns from Brock Purdy did not happen. He had 260 and 2 touchdowns. The projection was a little bit over the top, ambitious, but hey, if we're not looking to just absolutely slam dunk our DFS lineups, what are we doing? Rarely, if ever, do I play it safe with my DFS lineups, and therefore it shines or comes out of me to all of you. You want to play it safe? Have at it. Cash games and such. I've always just absolutely loved DFS. GPP. So playing it safe, it doesn't really go together if you're going to win, 10 grand, $1 million, something like that. So let's start with Russell Wilson. We're already 3 minutes in, and I've said a lot of nothing. Russell Wilson going against the Giants. They're 24th overall against opposing quarterbacks, looking at 17 to 18 completions, 200 yards, a touchdown pass, 3 to 4 carries for around 20 yards. So far, the New York Giants they've allowed 4 of the last five quarterbacks they've gone up against 20 fantasy points. And granted, that's like seasonal stuff, but it carries over, right? If you're going to give up 20 points in a redraft league, it's going to absolutely carry over and pay dividends in DFS formats. And again, I could go this entire game without using any quarterback, Daniel Jones obviously included, and Russell Wilson. But when push comes to shove, I think putting Russell Wilson in the MVP captain spot is a safe move, right? And I just talked about that 10 seconds ago. If you're looking for safe, use Russell Wilson in the MVP captain spot. If you're looking to get a little wild or nuts, let's fast forward to Malik Neighbors, the rookie wide receiver for the Giants. 16-5 on FanDuel, ton of dough, but it's going to, I'm looking at my projections, going to fall just shy of how can I say this, of expectations given how high his price tag is on FanDuel. DraftKings is only 10 grand. It's a wonderful price tag on DK. 10, 11 targets, 6 to 7 receptions, and around 90 yards. The only thing that gives me pause is the fact that Daniel Jones, the Giants quarterback, the guy throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors, he's failed to throw a touchdown pass in 3 of the Giants' last 4 games. So you're like, holy smokes, he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 3 of the last 4 games. So what's going to make tonight so different? I don't expect anything to be that different, but looking at the targets that will be just peppered towards Malik Neighbors, I think there's a fine line here to 1 or 2 touchdown passes for Daniel Jones. That second one would be like monumental, right? Hasn't thrown one in 4 or 5 games, and then all of a sudden Monday night, he throws 2. That would be nuts. 1 to Neighbors. And what about if we toss in Wan'Dale Robinson in that mix as well? When you look at Wan'Dale, he's seen at least 8 targets in 6 of the last 7 games, 8-9 targets tonight, 5-6 receptions, 55 to 60 yards. Do we see some sort of sneak play, some trickery, a roundabout, a reverse, however you want to put it? Likely. Does it go for any major yardage? That's what's up in the air. And when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're 10th overall against opposing wide receivers. They are allowing, this is the Steelers, they're allowing 217.3 yards a game. It's good for 22nd overall in the NFL. And get this, Pittsburgh, they have 9 total interceptions this season, and they've only given up 8 touchdown passes all year to pass catchers. So that's a wild stat, a wild, ratio. They have 9 interceptions, only given up 8 passing touchdowns this year. So Daniel Jones and the Giants pass catchers have their work cut out for them. And again, I have the Giants to maybe hang 14 to 17 points. So if you divide that by 6 or 7, you're looking at 2 total touchdowns. And why can't it be Malik and Wan'Dale Robinson? When we reverse a little bit, let's go to Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren briefly. The Pittsburgh Steelers 1-2 punch at running back. Najee 13-5 on FanDuel, Jaylen Warren at 9-5 on FanDuel. I have Najee Harris 18-19 carries, 100 yards and a touchdown, 1 or 2 receptions for another 10 yards. So again, that makes for a nice little starter move in player prop parlays this evening. 100 or more yards and a touchdown for Najee Harris. The Giants have given up the second most points to running backs. It's been a strange road so far for the New York Giants. And when you look at Jaylen Warren, he's finally healthy. And when he's healthy, he's seeing a fair amount of work. And granted, it was just like, let's just say, the one game last week. But Jaylen Warren had a 50% snap rate and 14 touches overall last week. So I could see the same case this week, tonight, not last week, not that it's Monday Night Football. Jaylen Warren, 10 to 11 carries, 60 yards plus 3 to 4 receptions for another 20 yards. So if you could promise me, if I could promise all of you 80 to 85 all-purpose yards for Jaylen Warren, how many of you, by a show of hands, would absolutely stick him in, no questions asked, at one of the flex spots? I know I would. That's what I'm trying to get all of you to do. When we look at the Giants running backs, it's just a tangled web, right? Tyrone Tracy Jr., the rookie, Devin Singletary, Eric Gray. I mean, why did I even mention his name? But when you look at Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary kind of grabbed that RB1 role back last week, and rightfully so. The Pittsburgh Steelers tonight, 7th overall against opposing running backs. Tyrone Tracy, again, 11-5 on FanDuel, a little bit too expensive for my blood on FanDuel for the single slate. But on DK, he's $4,400. The discrepancy between price tags on both sites is insane. I'm using Tyrone Tracy in all the spots I can on DraftKings. 8-9 carries, 35 to 40 yards, plus 3 to 4 receptions for another 20 yards, let's say. And again, a lot of folks are going to run to stack up Devin Singletary, and that's fine. Is he going to see, a majority of the work? Sure, but what does that entail? What is the majority of the work for a New York Giants running back entail? That's why I would pivot to Tyrone Tracy on DraftKings, at least, given his dirt cheap price tag. When we look at the wide receivers, I touched on Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson briefly. I love the idea of George Pickens as well in the MVP captain spot. So to me, my 2 moves, and it's nothing sneaky, it's nothing surprising, Malik Neighbors in MVP captain spot, and then we'll run with George Pickens in the flex spot in MVP captain in certain spots. When you look at George Pickens, 7-8 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 65 to 70 yards, and a touchdown. So far, Najee Harris, anytime touchdown. George Pickens, anytime touchdown. When you look at Pickens, last week alone, he had 5 receptions. 2 of them were for 20 or more yards. 1 of them was for 40 or more yards. So you're looking at 3 big-time splash plays out of 5 receptions. I love that this evening, given the fact that the Giants are 11th overall against opposing wide receivers. And I should have opened the broadcast with this. When you look up and down the DVPs and opposing defenses and stuff, it's a lot of red. It's a lot of 10, 11, top 12 kind of stuff. So to me, George Pickens, Malik Neighbors, my 1-2 punch at MVP captain spot. I think there's a case to be made that both guys score a touchdown today. George Pickens is almost the closest to a sure thing to find the end zone as I can say for this evening. Calvin Austin III, he's in play as well, as we just eclipsed the 10-minute mark on the video, but there's not much going on for Calvin Austin. He's got 21 targets, 11 receptions all year, only 203 yards, 207 yards, something like that, 1 touchdown. The only thing going for him, Calvin Austin III, is he's averaging 18.5 yards a reception, so he gets 2 receptions. You're looking at 36 to 40 yards, something like that. And lastly, to round this thing out, the idea of Pat Freiermuth in our lineup somewhere. I don't know if I'd put Pat Freiermuth in the MVP captain spot, because the Giants are first overall against opposing tight ends. But again, what does that mean when you're the 2-5 New York Football Giants? Pat Freiermuth, 4 to 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 35 to 40 yards. With Russell Wilson back under center last week, not much changed for Pat Freiermuth other than the depth of his targets improved a little bit. And last week, both of his receptions went for 20 or more yards. I believe he had 3 targets, 2 catches for around 50 yards. So you're looking at like 25 yards a catch last week for Freiermuth. Can he make that same magic happen today? So you're saying 3 catches in theory would be around 70 to 75 yards for Pickens, and he's only $8,000 on FanDuel, 6.2 on DK. That both DSTs, nothing going on. I mean, I would prefer the Steelers because they're getting after the ball, they're intercepting passes. The turnover ratio looks to be skewed in this game towards the Steelers side. When you look at the kickers, Greg Joseph is the Giants kicker, but he's soon going to be, in the unemployment line. That's what every blurb for Greg Joseph says, because Graham Gano should be off the IR. I believe he was already activated and he could have played last week. This is Graham Gano, and we'll see what we get, tonight from Graham Gano. Nothing crazy. Pittsburgh's only allowing 14.4 points a game total, so there's not a lot of room for, opposing kickers against the Steelers. So Chris Boswell is the move tonight for kickers if that's what you want to do. Some recent betting trends. I'll give you a final score and we'll get the heck out of here. The under has hit in 7 of the Giants' last 8 games. Pittsburgh 8-3 against the spread their last 11 games. The Giants 5-2 straight up their last 7 games in Pittsburgh. They're in Pittsburgh. That's a fantastic, betting trend here. And the under has come in 4 of Pittsburgh's last 5 games against the Giants. So everything is pointing towards an under, and I think it's going to be slim. It's going to be within 2 to 3 points. Give me the Steelers to win this game 21-17. Therefore, I'm going to take the Giants and the points. Last I looked, the Giants are getting 6.5 points. The Pittsburgh Steelers will win by around 4. You add 6.5 to the Giants total, and boom, you'll get a winner. Be good, be safe. Steelers win this one 21-17 in an oddly captivating Monday Night Football game. I will see you soon. Let's get together for Thursday Night Football. See you later. Pittsburgh wins this one 21-17. See ya.